So I was lucky enough to get two probably of the best fitness competitors probably in the country. I'm not just saying that just to say it, but I was lucky enough to meet Erikka earlier this year, and she came to my house for a consultation. She was talking about, you know, I want to compete, typical thing, I want to do bikini. And I'm like, cool. And I start prying away a little bit. I'm like, cool, what's your background in, athletics and whatnot? And she's like, well, I did gymnastics at a high level and I'm like, have you heard of fitness before? And she's like, no, what's that? So, I go get my phone, go on Instagram, and I bring up, Oksana Grishina, the best of the best of the best. But I want to show her, there's another thing you can actually do that doesn't require you just to get on stage and show your butt. Not trying to take away from, bikini competitors, but for someone who actually is skilled like that at that level, I'm like, you have to do this. So I showed her it. She hasn't been, actively in gymnastics for like 6 years apparently. So she had to stop for whatever reason she had to stop for, and this is like an opportunity for her to, go back to her roots. So we've been practicing. We've been training since April, and then halfway through training with her, one of my buddies who's a trainer at World Gym is training a powerlifter who is a / cheer, and she had a friend that wanted to compete in fitness, so she brought her over, and that's Cynthia. And Cynthia is like trained, she's still active in cheer, background in dance, contemporary dance, jazz, obviously tumbling and cheer and gymnastics. And so I was like, this is ridiculous. So I basically have the Mercedes, Formula One team here in fitness competitors. Anyway, so moving forward, so we had a really cool time that we could train together. I trained them both separate times, but every once in a while I want to kind of get them together because I think it's really important that people have that good, healthy, competitive throughout training and whatnot. So it was really cool. This is the first time seeing them actually train together. So we went and did back today. So we started off with mag grip, supinated pull downs. I found it's one of the best to really stretch the serratus and lats and pull down and whatnot. So we do that most of the time for warm up, either that or pull-ups. If you can do one or the other, it doesn't really matter. I find they're both really good exercises to start your back day, just to kind of stretch everything out. So we moved from there, we went into dumbbell rows. Love the dumbbell rows. Want to see a little more from both girls is that they pull a little more to their hip when they're doing the exercise. You're going to get a lot more stretch and contraction when you actually pull your hip, not when you're pulling, basically 90 degrees, elbow kind of comes up. You want it to kind of pull down and back towards your hip when you're bending, so you can get that really good stretch from the top of your lats all the way to the bottom. We did a little more of like the old school style, a little bit of some momentum in the hips, so you can kind of push away a little more. I like doing both. I like doing them both either the way we do them now in the video, or I like to do them actually when we're just, concentrated. Basically, head down. Pick this up from Matt Jansen. and not having any kind of torque or momentum from the hips at all, which gives you that much more stress on the muscle and it isolates it more. So that's basically the whole point of that. But for this, every once in a while I feel like I just want to throw some weight around. So I threw some weight around, still keeping the reps very heavy and controlled. So right here I'm using 150 pound dumbbells and I'm taking them for a ride. They're under control. My rep range is about 12 to 15 reps. The eccentric load isn't as great, but the load itself is great. So we're getting some good muscle contraction and we're getting good metabolic stress for sure. Again, we're watching Erikka in here. I kind of wish but I should have getting that little more pulling your pinky to the hips, so to speak. So it's gonna, if you think of taking any cues out of this, when I'm doing dumbbell rows, I'm thinking primarily getting that shoulder back, retract the scapula, and then the rest of the pull without any anterior rotation at the shoulder, so you can keep all the load onto the back. Similar here with Cynthia. Now Cynthia should be a little bit more back. I like to see her chest a little more parallel to the floor. Again, we're looking for full range of motion, putting a greater stress load onto the muscle, period. That's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to do anything else. I always make the analogy like this. If we take a pie chart and we're training back, the latimus dorsi should be the majority of the pie chart, and then you're getting like your rhomboids and your traps and your biceps at the in the little pieces of the pie. So I would say like 75% of this lift should be targeted to your lats, and then everything else that comes with it in your secondary muscles, secondary groups and whatnot. Then we moved on to one of my favorite things I've been starting to do is using rings. We have a really cool gym where we have a lot of stuff for functional lifting, CrossFit stuff, so we do have ring rows, but I do like using these because it gives you a little more free motion onto your wrist. So I find when people pull, they move their wrists too much. They're either moving it like this or they're moving it like this, okay? I want to keep my wrist completely straight when I pull. So when I pull something, it should do this. It shouldn't do this. It shouldn't pull like this. It should pull straight. And with the rings, it kind of doesn't matter how you're moving the weight. It actually keeps your wrist in a stagnant position, so it keeps it, consistently straight, basically. So we want to pull like that. So remember, you're not pulling with anything but you're gripping with your hands. But I always make the cues that you're pulling from your elbows. Think about driving your elbows down and back. That's what you're trying to do. And as far as the elbows can go back, down and back, that's as far as you need to go. Another thing too, when it comes to back development, people are talking about back thickness and whatnot. Everyone's like, "What's back thickness?" My goal this year is to get more back thickness. And where does that back thickness come from? Traps, rhomboids, delts, that popping out. So the more we can stretch all the way and then retract and come back, it's like you're really stretching that muscle and putting it under that load constantly. So you're constantly always bringing your shoulders, like basically pulling your rhomboids, using rhomboids and whatnot to pull your scapulas back over and over and over again. So that can kind of create a little more of that density when it comes to your traps, your rhomboids, your rear delts and whatnot. So love this machine because of that. You know, I can focus on stretching all the way through and then driving the elbows on the way back. And again, with having the rings, I'm not going to have my arm coming back and it kind of do this kind of stuff or pull. It can stay consistent, just pull straight through it, so I can just really just focus on using my elbows to pull back.
Hey, McFly, what do you think you're doing? Hey, I'm talking to you, McFly.
So yeah, man, that was it. So more to come. Thank you again for stopping by. I'm gonna get a lot more content out. I just had to put this one together. I got a bunch of these in the funnel. I just been at work. I have my camera at work all the time, so when I'm with my clients or training myself, I'm always, documenting stuff. So stay tuned. Thank you for giving a little spark over here on my channel here, and we're gonna get it going. I'm gonna give you guys some good content. Till next time, keep dream chasing. And we out. Boom. Make sure you subscribe. Peace.